Apostle today for allowing us together. Our lesson today is another fantastic lesson, another great one. Our subject is faith in the power of God. And I just want to say that this is, you know how people say they have a full circle moment of things that happen in their lives? And when I preached my first sermon, the title was The Power of God. So when I read this lesson, I was like, oh my goodness, what a full circle moment for me by the fact that part of my sermon title is in this lesson. But this is about having faith in what God can do, which as Christians sometimes we lose faith along the way, and we lose belief in how powerful God really is. So our winter quarter, we're continuing with this theme of faith that pleases God. And today we start a new unit theme for lessons 10 through 13 of the righteous live by faith. And in this month, we're going to be talking about Daniel and his faith, and there's another one I can't think of them offhand. But today we're talking about Isaiah and faith. Okay, so our scripture readings, our devotional reading is coming from Romans 4, 9 through 12. Our background scripture today is coming from Isaiah 40, 12 through 31. So why don't I go ahead and read that today. For those that are listening, I'll let everybody know I'm having a little bit of sinus issue today, but I'm still here, amen? Verse 12, who hath measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and meted out heaven with a span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and in the hills in a balance? Who hath directed the Spirit of the Lord, or being his counselor taught him? To whom then will ye liken me, or shall I be equal? Said the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who hath created these things, that bring out their host by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might, for that he is strong in power, not one faileth. Why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speaketh, O Israel, my way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment is passed over from God? Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching in his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up the wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading and the hearing of his word. Amen. So let's talk about our writer today, who is the prophet Isaiah, one of the 5 major prophets. Isaiah, the book of Isaiah is also known as a miniature Bible because it has 66 books. It's broken down like the Bible. The first through the 39 chapters, Isaiah talks about the words of the judgment, punishment, about the things that the children of Israel are doing that are not in line with God's word. And then chapter 40 through 66. Good morning, Pastor. Isaiah talks about words of comfort, grace, and mercy that God will pour on them and the children of Israel when they're released from the Babylonian captivity. So the background of our lesson today, if we really want to dig deep and go there for just a couple minutes, we would have to start this lesson back in chapter 37. Amen. Chapter 37 talks about King Hezekiah and him being over Judea, and the fact that when King, now I'm going to get this name wrong, but Sennacherib, but the Bible also calls him, he's a king of Assyria. So rather than mess up his name this morning, how about I stick with the king of Assyria? Amen? Okay. So the king of Assyria, in the 37th chapter, if you read that in detail, it talks about how the king has gone out, the king of Assyria has gone out, and he sent these decrees to all these different countries, Ethiopia and some other different countries, that he's going to destroy them. And he has destroyed them. So Hezekiah is in a situation where he's like, well, Lord, what about me? What about us? We've been following your direction. We've been doing what you asked us to do. And now we're faced with this situation. And so the king of Assyria sends Hezekiah a letter about what's getting ready to happen to his people. And Isaiah talks to King Hezekiah and talks to him about the power of God and the fact that God can do what no man can do. And where people lack faith, God can do all things. And so, in this 37th chapter, it talked about Hezekiah getting dressed and going down to the temple and to worship and to talk to God and have a conversation with God about what's going on. And Isaiah is also talking about the people and their lack of faith, especially with the Babylonian captivity there. The children of Israel are in a situation where they said God made a promise to us that we would have, that we would be kings, we would be queens, we would have riches, that we would have the promised land. And here we are in captivity, and the people that are worshiping their gods are doing better than we are. And in our life today, sometimes we can get discouraged as Christians because we'll look around and say, well, hey, they're sinners, they're living it up, they're making money, they're living in mansions, they're doing this. They seem to have a life that is better than the one we have while we worship in God and they worship in Satan. But the truth of the matter is, we don't know how they're getting them houses on the lake. We don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, but we know that God is taking care of us. And like I was saying last Sunday when we was doing devotion, we got to thank God for what we got and the fact that we woke up this morning and that we got the activities of our limbs and that we didn't sleep on the street. But that's beside the point. Okay, let's get back to the lesson. So Hezekiah prays to God at the suggestion of Isaiah that your people are lacking faith. You lacking faith. You need to pray to God. Ask God to help you through this situation. And that should be what we always think about when we start losing faith. Having faith that no matter what's going on in our life, that God hasn't left us. So in 37, it talks about God sends an angel that night to the campsite of where the king Assyrian soldiers are, kills 185,000 soldiers. And when those that were left alive woke up the next morning and saw all these soldiers dead, and just think about the power of God with one angel that took out 185,000 soldiers. They got up and got up out of there and went their own way. So, the reason why I wanted to give that background is because the children of Israel are seeing all these things that are happening. So now they're feeling like there is not a lot of hope for us. Why are we still worshiping a God that has us in captivity, have us in a situation where we don't know when we're going to get out of exile? We don't know when that's going to happen. Now, the one thing we know about Isaiah as well is that he also prophesied that King Cyrus, that there was going to be a release of the children of Israel. And he also prophesied about the coming of Christ. So in the 40th chapter, the reason why I believe our Sunday school lesson put us together with the 40th chapter of Isaiah is because from then on, Isaiah is talking about comfort. And he's talking about keeping the faith. And he's talking about holding on. So in this 12th verse, where it says, 12a, he had measured the waters in the hollow of his hand. Now he's talking about God. About God can measure the water, but we can't measure any water. When you look out upon Pacific Ocean or some of these oceans that are out here, you think you know how deep it is, but you really don't know how deep any of these waters are. And it's saying that nobody knows this but God. And God has it in the power of his hand. And then he also says that, and mete it out with the heaven, the span. And he has a question mark here because it's like, we don't know how wide this goes. And in the Bible, it uses waters in heaven a lot of times and it uses it as a rhetorical question of who knows what the span is of heaven. Who knows what the span is of the waters that come. Look at over there on, I think it was somewhere in Hawaii a couple weeks ago, where that water came rushing in out of nowhere through those doors. Nobody knows how powerful water is until it starts rushing in. So I think that's why these scriptures are saying God is the only one that can measure the water in his hand. The next one in 12b says, and comprehended. Can you comprehend the dust of the earth in a measure? I mean, the earth is dust. So can we comprehend really? Nobody can comprehend that. And then weigh the mountains and scales and the hills and the balance of what the hills are, what the mountains are, what the dust is in the earth. It's like nobody can do that but God. Any questions so far? Okay. Number 13, he says, who have directed the Spirit of the Lord? And he's asking a question here, or being a counselor has taught. So he's saying Spirit, it can mean the wind, it can mean the breath, it can mean the attitude, it could mean anything. But what it's saying here too is that in the spirit of omnipotence means that there's control, and omnipresence means that there's power, and omniscience or omniscience means that there's omni means God, and omnipotence means that there's control, and omnipresence means there's power. That God has all these things, that he's an all-knowing God, and at all times God has the power in his hand. So Isaiah in these scriptures are trying to encourage those that are weak, that no matter what you're going through, nobody compares. Look at the mountains, look at the waters. Nobody compares to what God can do. Then 25 says, to whom then ye are likened, or shall I be equal? Only though there's nobody equal to God. There's nobody that can compare to what God can do, or what God is like. When you think of the human body, when you think of all the situations that God may have brought you through, and you look back and say, you know what? It was nobody but God that navigated my life in the path that he did to get me where I am today, when folks said you weren't going to be able to get into that door. It's going to take you 6 months to get into King County, and it took me less than four weeks. So it's that kind of power when man say one thing, but God says another. Our faith in what God can do and his power. Isaiah goes on to say, lift up your eyes on high, and behold who has created these things, and bring it out their host by number. So he's saying, look at the stars. God can name every single star that's in the sky. God can name everything that twinkles. Some of those stars may have been out there for millions of years, but everything that's in that sky, everything that exists, God put it there. And he made a promise that he'd never leave us. So while you're getting discouraged about what you're seeing down here on earth, and believing that just because you see what man is doing with these rumors of wars, never give hope on what God can do. Okay. Number 26b says, he calleth them by the names, by the greatness of his might, for he is strong in power, and not one faileth. And it's just interesting to me how we'll be watching the news, and some reporter will say, oh, we discovered a new star. We discovered a new this, or we discovered a new planet. And I just sit there and chuckle and say, you didn't discover nothing, because all these things that exist, God created them from the beginning of time, and maybe you just discovered them now, but they've always been there. But those are just signs of the magnitude of what we see and what God can do. 27 says, why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speaketh, O Israel? And we know that God changed Jacob's name to Israel. And so I feel like in this scripture, they're saying, we want to make sure Isaiah said, we want to make sure you understand who I'm speaking to, just in case it's not clear that I'm talking about all of Israel, all of Jacob. So it says, O Jacob, and speaketh, O Israel, my way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment passed over from God? No. Because everything that we do, everything that we say is in God's sight. So it says here, the parallelism continues with the phrase, my way is hid, mirroring my judgment is passed over. Then the phrase from the Lord echoes from my God, that no matter what you do, you may think you might be getting away with something down here on earth, but God sees and he knows all, and the judgment day is coming. Number 28 says, hast thou known, hast thou not heard, that thou everlasting God? He calls them by all these names, that God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary. There is no searching and understanding, no matter how you try to understand the power of God and all the things that he can do. There is no understanding for you of everything that God can do, because he can do all. And no matter how, and Paul says it somewhere in, Pastor probably can just rattle it right off, but Paul says it somewhere in one of his scriptures, I think it's Roman, that there's nobody who has a mind like God. There's nobody who can but think like God. There's nobody that's even alike like God. Oh, it says here, Romans 1:20, there's nobody that compares to God. Number 29. There's a promise of the strength of the Lord. It says, He giveth the power to the faint, and to them that have no might, He increases strength. So, just like with Hezekiah, when he got to when it was time for him to die, and he was near the end of his time, and he prayed and he said, Lord, I've been faithful, I've been doing what you have me to do, and God gave him a few more years. You never know what God has in store for you. And this is saying here that God will give you the power that you need to deal with the things that are coming your way. Just like Isaiah told Hezekiah, go pray to the Lord. Ask for what you need, and God will supply. He'll hear your prayer. And He will, and it says here, He giveth power to the faint, and then those that have no might, God can increase your strength. But the thing about that is you got to be open and believing that God can do it. And in Philippians it says, I can do all things through Christ that strengthen me. We can do all things through Christ that strengthen us if only we believe and have faith that God can do it. If we lack faith, then where is our faith? Okay. Now, number 30 says, even the youth shall faint and be weary. Even the young man shall utterly fall. So what it's saying there is you can be young, full of energy, vibrant, be strong. We know, just from me watching JJ, I know there's a reason why people are supposed to have children when they're younger. Because when you're younger, you have more energy. You don't tire as easily. You have more patience. And it says even the youth will faint and be weary, and the young man shall utterly fall if they don't believe and have faith. And that's where God can restore all of that. You know, I'm gonna get up there with JJ pretty soon and be able to. God's gonna give me strength, a little bit of extra strength to keep running after Him. Amen. But in the last verse here, it says, and let me just say this, that Paul says, we can faint on the inward man, but we should have a renewing of our mind, our heart, and spirit every day as we believe in Christ Jesus and as we believe in God and what He can do for us. And 31 says, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, and they'll mount up the wings of eagles. And when we just look, if you want to see some eagles on a regular basis, go down to Lake Washington in Renton. There's an eagle family that lives around there somewhere. And you just watch those eagles just soaring so eloquently through the sky, you know, and they're just having fun in the winds. And that's what this is saying. And their strength, because those eagles can attack. But it's saying, we'll mount up our wings like eagles. They shall run. They shall not be weary. They shall walk, and they shall not faint. And that's saying that no matter what we're going through, if we keep our faith, and even our circumstances might seem dim, even our situations might feel like, Lord, why me? Just remember in the power of God and all that He does. The winds that blow, the sun that rises, the moon that's hung, the activities of your limb. If you ever studied human anatomy and how intricate your body is, and to think that God created all of that and is powerful, and every piece of your body is in there for a reason. You don't realize how powerful and how needed everything is in your body and in your life, and to think that that little piece of bone controls so much between your foot, your toes, and your ankle, that when I thought about that, I thought about how powerful that is, that God created us in the way that He did. But our story today is faith in the power of God, because God is almighty. And Isaiah was trying to encourage the people of Israel that even though you might be going through something, even though life isn't the way that you planned it, don't be weary, don't faint, look to God for your strength, and just keep holding on. And eventually, the children of Israel, by decree of King Cyrus, do get released from Babylonian captivity some years later after Prophet Isaiah prophesied. So my last words is, hold on, don't lose faith. There's always power in God.
Giving thanks to God and to the acting superintendent, to all of you, good morning.
Good morning.
Faith in the power of God. And that is faith in what God can do. Right?
Right.
And if you don't have faith in what God can do, you might not even pray.
Yeah.
So it's no sense in even praying if you don't have faith in what God can do, if you don't believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So what Isaiah is saying here to the children of Israel, as they coming from the, as Sherry pointed out, coming from their chastisement, okay, and now getting ready for their deliverance. Because see, some people has to suffer for a while before they can see the light.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that every time a person gets disobedient, that doesn't do what God says, then God said, okay, well, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do what I say, I'm just going to let your enemy have their way with you. And that's why the king of Syria was writing all these letters. See, so what God says, God didn't stop until he got finally when Isaiah begged God and talked to God. And sometimes it's good to have a mediator between you and God.
Yeah.
So who is our mediator now? Quick.
Us?
Jesus.
Jesus. I was like, nobody but Jesus.
Jesus, people's here on earth is our prayer partners. Jesus is our mediator. Okay? So keep that in mind.
All right, we're going to make it that door.
Let's take another look at that 12th verse. And I want to deal with that word span. Okay? It says, who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and meted out the heavens with the span. And that word span, with the span, okay, that word with the span, when it compares to God, okay, it means from the tip of God's thumb to his little finger, okay, that he can measure all the water, the amount of water in all the oceans, lakes, rivers, etc. So you look at him, and that's why I said with the span. That's why I looked at him in that fashion, a span. With us, from the tip of our thumb down to our little finger, what? It's not very much, is it?
No.
Okay, but with God, It's almost a whole earth.
Oh, body.
You see, now we know the ocean is deep because that little submarine here last year went down 5,000 feet, and they found some parts of it. Haven't found any other individuals who went down there. Okay, but what it's saying here that God is so powerful, that He's got so much power in between His fingers that we can't even imagine or comprehend. Who can imagine how much water is in the ocean?
Yeah.
And then when they like, so let's say it's Snoqualmie Falls, when the water come off of there and it's flooding, and they say so many hundreds of thousands of gallons of water fell off of Snoqualmie Falls.
Yeah.
They don't know. They just guessing. Are you with me? In the same way with the rainfall, they don't know. They just guessing. They done got a thing that's so-called measuring the water of how many inches fell, and then compared it, put it together, so wide, so wide, and so square. Okay, and they set it out there and let the water fall in it, and then they call that so many inches. Okay, man has a way of getting our attention and getting us to believe what they say, and if they're not careful, man can get us to believe anything.
Yeah.
If they talk long enough, get us to believe that the world is square.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Than rather being round.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to go over here to the 31st verse for just 1 minute. And he says, and I want to go to that part where it says, and they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength.
Yeah.
And they shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run, not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Yeah. Okay, I want to deal with that eagle part of it.
Right.
Okay. You've heard the people talk about the sermon, eagle stirred his nest. This is no eagle stirred his nest. This is the fact that God had Isaiah to look at the eagle and pay attention to the eagle's activities and see how an eagle performs. Okay, after watching the eagle, he found out that the eagle had the most powerful eye of any bird in the air. An eagle can look down 5 miles up, see a rat crawling on the ground. That's a pretty powerful bird, isn't it? Okay, the next thing that an eagle can do, an eagle can stay in the air longer than any other bird on the earth. When a storm comes, eagles can fly above the storm and ride out above the storm until the storm passes and then come back down. And so that's why Isaiah used that phrase as an eagle. Okay, you can run and not get worried. Okay, and you can mount up. Okay, meaning that whatever comes your way, if you are strong, if you are in the Lord, no matter what it is, you can overcome it. Yeah. You see, the other thing is the eagle is the most powerful bird on the earth. It'll take on any other bird. You see, and conquer it. I'll give you just an example. I watched the wildlife story. There was 2 sage hens in Russia on the channel, on the Discovery Channel, and this eagle attacked one and was getting ready to devour it. And this other eagle, it might have been male and female, decided, well, I'm going to defend my comrade. So he lit in there and started attacking the eagle. The eagle killed the one, then turned around and killed the serpent. So the eagle said, this is my thing now. The eagle said, I got enough meal, man, last me a long time now. But the point of it is, he killed both of them.
That's funny.